How do you respond to criticisms that the facility has been given out for 25 years for just 100 million when we could have made 300 million, three times the amount we're trying to get from the concession agreement?
Well, I mean, I listened to that and I was laughing. And
Why?
Because the person who said so said a similar number about NAWEC, which was out of line. So if an asset that took 98 million to build, in less than 5 years you can offload that for threefold, that must be a gold mine, or that must be a gambling scenario. How would we be able to sell an asset that was constructed at a cost of 97 million? In less than 5 years, you sell it for 300. I mean, we are not actually, like I said at the beginning, these are concession agreements, and no sale has taken place. I don't know what type of investor. Title has not passed. The Senegambia Bridge is a Gambia government-owned bridge. Title is vested in the Gambia government and is domiciled and is immovable. I don't think any investor would invest and not be sure that, like, if it is a sale, you don't have title. If it is a sale, we should have done the sale. Our documentation would say Senegambia Bridge from this date onwards now belong to Africa 50. But we did not sign a sale agreement. We signed a concession agreement, and the bridge lifespan is more than 50 years. The concession is for 25 years, half of the lifespan. And we structured this transaction in such a way that it is return driven. If the return target IRR, that is target internal rate of return of 15%, is realized by year 10 or 15, an assessment will be done. If the investors have realized their target return, the asset will revert back to the state. So at that stage, and in fact, what is happening now, people using that route are seeing construction on site. The toll plaza is being built, both the north side and the south side. And I can tell you, this is why there is so much noise about asset recycling, because it's a force of its kind. And since we've launched in Africa here, since we launched it last week, we received 7 executive directors of African Development Bank on a country tour. And one of the key attractive factors was, let's go and find out the Senegambia Bridge that we financed for a grant that is now being asset recycled, giving the country 100 million, and yet still the bridge will be there to provide the services of easing the transportation. You see, so if it was a wrong transaction, we have not done the transaction with a private entity. We've done it with an entity, that's Africa 50, which is majority owned by African Development Bank. And it's African Development Bank that gave us the bridge as a grant. So bad faith is not on the table. And these are not profiteering organizations. They are development institutions. And this is the way forward that is being tried now to introduce private management of public assets. Because we've all seen how many public infrastructure has been allowed to collapse and under public management. So the vogue in town now is to introduce the private sector to managing public infrastructure. One, the longevity of the asset is preserved, efficiencies will be there, more revenue will be mobilized. And what we are hoping with this transaction is not just only a financial transaction in terms of better management of the asset, but it's also a financial management tool. Because simply with the infrastructure being deployed, we'll be able to see for every revenue what has been the cost driver. Like, for example, for every time, if they tell me we generated 10,000, that 10,000 will be translated into how many cars, how many bicycles, how many motorcycles, how many lorries. That will bring about accountability. As we speak, even though we had improved efficiencies, but that is a work in progress. And we do not have the infrastructure or the technology to deploy as government to be able to do that granular breakdown of traffic in the form of cities cameras, to scan the vehicles and ensure that what revenue is to be collected is collected. So these are all tools to, in a nutshell, a digital management, introducing digitalization to enhancing public resource management.